One of the nice things about coming to talks like this is the people that meet backstage, and had a great conversation with Brian in waiting, and connected up before. You see that the title of my talk is The Wonder of Creativity. And I call it the wonder of creativity for a number of reasons. And one of them is that actually the idea just popped into my head a few days ago. I was busily working away on attempting to write a very impressive talk for today, and being very serious about it, and pulling together all kinds of academic ideas. And while busily doing that, up from somewhere else in me came this idea of give this talk called The Wonder of Creativity. And so I'm going to give this talk today rather than the really impressive academic one, which probably would have bored you to death. Another reason that I call it The Wonder of Creativity is I've had this lifelong fascination with creativity. That as long as I can remember, I've loved all things creative. Creative people, creative ideas, creative books, creative music, creative dating. It took me a long time to grow up enough to finally get married, and so I've had this fascination with creativity. And one of the things I found is that I was a songwriter for a long time, many, many years ago. And when I decided that I was then going to go back to school and finish my doctorate, it just seemed like a natural progression to come and study creativity. But one of the funny things that happened is that I was never really confused about creativity until I became an academic. And I thought psychologists analyze things a lot, and I'm often told that. But at the university, I have the opportunity, I get to explore creativity, I get to research creativity. But one of the things that I feel most fortunate about is that over the last 5 years, I've had the chance to teach courses in creativity. And it's been one of the most gratifying experiences that I've had. And in the courses, one of the things that we do, as well as we really strive to set up an environment that's very we create a sense of community and a sense of encouraging people to take risks. And one of the things that we do is everyone creates a personal project. And the projects, I set certain parameters and limits, but I try to leave things as open as possible. And encourage people to do the projects on things that they truly love, things that they're really moved by. And as you likely know, when you open the door to creativity, or when you open the door to flexibility and options, you do open the door to creativity and imagination. But you also, for many of us, it opens the door to anxiety. That when we have a lot of options, we often, it stirs up those old patterns that many of us have, where we don't really know what to do. And it stirs up that, just tell me what to do, and I'll go and I'll create something about it. I saw this all the time when I was teaching educational psychology, that energy of, is this on the test? Did he say this was on the test? And so in the personal projects, we really focus on doing things that we love. And part of the stirring up of the anxiety is something that all of the students work through in the process of coming up with their creative work. And what we then do is on the last 2 nights of the course, we create celebration time. And we sometimes decorate the room. We bring food and drinks. And one at a time, the students go to the front and they share their projects with us. And they share not only what they've created, but they also share the story behind it, what they went through in that process. And one night, it was a young woman's turn to present, and she very hesitantly went to the front. She seemed shy and nervous. She got to the front, her eyes were downcast. She took a deep breath and looked up at us and said, I failed. I have no project to share with you. And she told us the story, often through her tears, of what had happened for her. That she had told herself that there was something that she should do. That there was a form of journaling she believed was good for her, and so that she told herself that this would be something that she should do. And there was a smaller voice of something that she had this sense of passion about, where she truly loved this form of photography, nature-based photography, but she had abandoned that voice and had kept that quiet and secret. And she had given in to the voice in her that had said, you should do this. And during her project completion, she had this epiphany, she had this awareness that she had done this a lot in her life. And so what she did is, out of this, she decided that rather than force herself to do a project that now felt like a lie, that she would come and stand before us and share her truth. That she had left behind this part of her that and had ignored this dream in her, and she had no project, no PowerPoint slides, no handouts, just this awareness that she was no longer going to leave this voice behind and no longer going to leave this dream behind. Well, we burst into spontaneous applause. And also wiping our own eyes, most of us. There's something I find profound about when someone has the courage to speak so openly and from the heart, that I find it personally impossible not to be riveted when someone speaks in that way. They take us into a place deep inside ourselves. It's very moving and it's profound. And one of the things that I noticed about creativity, that I've learned from my students and also from other parts of my research, is that there's something in creativity that brings us back to ourselves. That it brings us back to something inside us that we've often left behind. And this woman's story, I know because I got to be a psychologist in private practice for many years, and I know that this story is very common for many of us. That we leave behind the voice of what we really feel called to do, and we do what we feel we should do. But creativity really helps bring us back to ourselves. And I think that's part of the wonder of creativity, that when we involve ourselves in it, that it brings us back to ourselves. So Carl Rogers was a psychologist who dedicated his whole life to helping people come back to themselves, to helping them discover and become the person they are behind the mask. It's not a coincidence that he also had a theory of creativity. And Abraham Maslow was a psychologist who dedicated his life to helping people self-actualize, to helping them become the most fully developed, fully alive people that they can be. It's not a coincidence that he also had a theory of creativity, or that he once mused that creativity and self-actualization, that we may one day discover that they turn out to be the same thing. And it's also not a coincidence that if you explore modern-day personal development movements and spiritual teachers, like Gene Houston and Matthew Fox, you'll see that they also have a profound, lasting interest in creativity. So the very first time I taught the course, I remember having a particularly powerful evening like the one I described, and coming home, walking in the house and saying to my wife, you know, I realize tonight that people come to courses like this looking for creativity, and what they find is themselves. And that's what has happened for us. That people come and they look for creativity and they find themselves. Now, part of the wonder of creativity is also that this power to create is in all of us. Every single one of us this is something that I've learned along the way, every single one of us has this power to create. It's not just like JJ who creates these wonderful things that we saw in the earlier talk. It's all of us have this potential to create. And I've learned from hanging around with people exploring creativity that there are many reasons why people don't tend to think that they're creative. That they write themselves off as creative people. And one of the reasons is that they still tend to think that creativity belongs to the arts. And it doesn't. There is no question that the arts have brought us probably more creativity than any other collection of domains in the history of the world. But creativity is a part of, an essential part of, and is vital to all domains. Literature and the arts, most certainly, but education, psychology, counseling, business, management, conference organizing as well. It's a part of all domains, and it's important for us to realize that creativity is not really about what you do. Sometimes people will come to me and say that they have an idea for their creative project, and I'll say, okay, tell me. Well, I'm going to paint a picture. So, do you know how to paint? No, but I'll paint it, or I'm going to learn an instrument. And they have this sense that creativity requires that they do something artistic. But creativity is not synonymous with artistic. Another reason that people tend to dismiss their own creativity is they have this sense that creativity is some particular trait or talent or aptitude that we can track down and isolate in people, and that you either have it or you don't, and you're either born with it or you're not, and that it's something we only see in special people like artists or inventors. But that's not what creativity is at all. Creativity is actually something that happens naturally for all of us, young and old alike, when certain elements or dimensions are present. And if those elements and dimensions are present, whether it's in business, in school, in our own lives, creativity has a chance to occur. And if they're present in abundance, creativity has the chance to flourish for all of us. If you read in the literature, you'll see that there are many different versions of what these dimensions are. And I just found that it's helpful to organize them into 5 categories. If you look at anybody's creative life, you'll see that over the long haul, there are 5 things you'll see in those people's lives. Motivation, uncommon commitment, skill, imagination, and courage. If you don't have those 5, something is likely to block your own creativity. And the good thing about this is that when we realize this, we can help organize these in our own lives and help bring about creativity. So, to run through them here, to give you a perspective, motivation is simply the reason we do what we do. We human beings don't do anything without being motivated. Nothing. You came here today because you were motivated by something. I'm here because I'm motivated by something. And the 2 greatest motivations for human beings are passion and meaning. If we find out what we love to do, and we find out what we feel called to do, it's a guarantee that the chances for us to be creative has just gone up tremendously. Uncommon commitment, even when we're passionate about something, there come times when we have to draw on other things in us. I often see it as a parallel in romance. Think of the last time you were in love. Or maybe you're in love today, and you think you don't need this element because you're still very highly motivated. In romance or in creative projects, when the edge of our passion begins to wane and other things call us, we need to call on things like discipline and dedication and hard work. And then the third element is skill. That every domain has certain skills and knowledge if we're to be creative. Every domain. Teaching, art, painting, music, speech delivery, organizing, conference organizing, everything. And if we don't have the skills, we won't be creative. It's not possible for us to be. And I've noticed that if you take a look at people who have all of the other elements, but they have no skill, they're motivated, they're hardworking, they have imagination, they have courage, but if they have no skill, what they create is pain. They create pain for other people. Think about someone who wants to do some creative playing on the violin for you, is motivated, hardworking, imaginative, and it doesn't matter who they play for, but they have absolutely no skill. It will be painful. And then fourth is imagination. Without imagination, there's nothing new under the sun. You'll be a good technician, be a great technician, but you won't be truly creative. We need to find ways to dip into our own imagination. And then courage. Creative people need courage. It's risky, whether in teaching, in business, in art, or a little kid in grade 1. It's risky to stand out and come up with and express unusual ideas. It takes a certain amount of courage. So that's part of, I think, the wonder of creativity, that I just feel delighted to be able to be a part of helping teach this and learn from my students this sense that we're all creative. And I love when students in my class begin the course believing they're not creative, and then by the end have come to this place where they really are creative, and they are aware of this. And I really do believe that the world needs our creations. It needs our great paintings. It needs our great lessons in class. It needs the new iPad. It needs our creations, but really most, I think, the thing that I am struck by in my work with creativity is the way in which, when we're involved in our creative work, we come back to ourselves. We come back to those little voices that we've lost, the things that we really yearn to do, the things we sometimes say, I'll do that when I retire. Not a good idea. And so I really do think that creativity helps bring us back to ourselves and back to the heart, and we know for sure that the world can use more heart. So thank you.